We're watching a live sporting event for the first time ever on the Water Cooler. We break down NBA tiers, and we talk about the new NFL quarterback draft class. All that and more coming right up. It's the Water Cooler. Where else would you rather be? Good morning and welcome to the Water Cooler, your home for USC Sports Banter. I'm your host, Thomas Johnson, joined alongside Dylan Luden and Stefano Fendrich. We'll be getting to our special event later on in this segment, but first, let's get right into Water Cooler talk. The USC women's basketball team is currently playing in the Big Ten tournament after proving us all wrong and beating UCLA to earn the #1 seed in the tournament. The Trojans are scoring off against the Indiana Hoosiers as we speak, and USC is currently winning 59-56. So assuming USC wins this one, and it's still up in the air, which squad do you guys think is the biggest threat to USC's tournament chances?
I mean, it honestly might be Indiana, but let's be honest. I do think USC has proven that they're pretty leagues above the rest of the Big Ten. But if a team were to do it, surprise, surprise, I'm going with Maryland. They're, to me, one of the best offensive teams in the Big Ten. They played in December. It was a close game, 79-74. So this Maryland team has played close with USC before. They're coming off a great win against Ohio State. You know, they don't have a very big team. They have just one player on the roster taller than 6'3". So I think that, dichotomy of team could play in their favor, this small ball lineup. They're lethal from the three-point range. Cheyenne Sellers dropped 26 last game, averaging 44% from the three-point line. I think to get an upset against USC, you're going to need to be lethal from behind the arc, and I think Maryland is that team to do it. Obviously, USC might be a little wounded. They don't have Ryan Marshall today. If USC wins today in the semifinal, so maybe Maryland can surprise some people. It could be the Terps once again.
Look, I still have to say UCLA. I mean, this is really the only team that can actually compete with USC right now. And USC haven't figured it out. I mean, they were able to figure out how to kind of limit Lauren Best offensively. She only had 11 points last game, even though she had a double-double when she's nearly averaging 20 points a game. Kiki Rice shot 3 for 13, 0 for 3 from 3. London Jones shot 5 for 13. And, I mean, this USC team has figured out UCLA so well that they had Jaquez in tears in the press conference and close, crumbled up a stat sheet and just left it there. And she was extremely pissed off at her players for not doing their jobs, according to her. And I feel like, I mean, they just have them broken right now. They had a players-only meeting to kind of figure out what they're going to do and how to try to stop USC. So maybe that's the reason how they can at least beat USC, is that the players come together and they figure out what they're doing so poorly wrong. But I also got to say, got to watch out for Iowa, because they gave USC a loss, one of their only losses on the season. They had 2, and they upset Michigan State yesterday as well. And they can match up really well. That's my other thing. I know they beat USC on Caitlin Clark jersey retirement night, and that might be the only factor as to why they won the game. But you have to consider the fact that they did beat USC when no one really has beat them at all this year, and I think you have to give them credit.
Yeah, sure you can give them credit, but that means USC is going to be looking out for the Hawkeyes.
Exactly.
It was on the road that USC lost to Iowa. It was, like you said, Caitlin Clark jersey retirement night. It was a perfect storm for the Hawkeyes to upset the Trojans. I really don't think. I think Iowa, of the remaining teams, is the least threat to USC.
I agree completely. On senior night against Illinois, in the postgame press conference, a reporter asked to Rhea Marshall and Kiki, what are you most excited for in Indianapolis? And both of them said Iowa. They're looking out for the Hawkeyes. And, to your UCLA point, USC just beat them by what, 20?
13.
13. Okay, it was a 20-point. It was a blowout in Pauley Pavilion. You think when it comes to a neutral court, when they don't have a home fan behind them, that they're going to do well?
I think it's super hard to beat the same team 3 different times.
They said that.
Like, I want to go back to Iowa because it's like Iowa has to beat Ohio State, then assumingly beat UCLA to get to the finals to play USC.
But they make really good coaching adjustments to their opponent. I do have to give them credit. They do match up really well.
They have to beat 2 ranked teams to potentially even play USC.
And they can do it. I'm just saying they can do it. I mean, Lucy Olson has been incredible all season. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
And I don't think anyone can guard her really. I think they can. I think Iowa can at least.
They
pull
are
it
the
off.
11 seed from a reason. I would say the USC loss was more of a fluke for USC.
But they whooped Michigan State. Michigan State were a 6 seed. That's all I gotta say. I think they can match up really well.
Well, okay, let's just say USC, obviously, last time we checked in, beating Indiana. But if USC falls today in the quarterfinals or the semifinals tomorrow, do you think the Trojans still deserve a #1 seed in the tournament?
Yeah, I think without a doubt, because you got to think about the teams that could jump them. Let's say USC loses, UCLA wins the Big Ten tournament. You can't give UCLA a 1 seed over USC. USC beat them twice in the regular season, which I think is more important than not facing them at all in the Big Ten tournament and winning the Big Ten tournament. So I think USC basically has locked it up. I would say Texas and USC are basically the only 2 locks. Notre Dame's kind of played themselves out of a 1 seed. So yeah, I think there's no reality where USC doesn't have a 1 seed.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they're gonna also be a 1 seed no matter what. Even if they lose today, I still think they're gonna be a 1 seed.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just we saw Stanford. The Cardinal didn't earn a 1 seed last year after not winning their conference tournament. Obviously, they did lose to USC once in the regular season, so that might be the difference there. I think if USC loses the finals, they still earn a 1 seed. If they lose one of the next 2 days, I think they lose. But we're going to stick with basketball, but heading into the professional ranks, let's talk some NBA. Each team has, give or take, 10 games left in the regular season, meaning the playoffs are starting to take shape. So I have made a power ranking of the top 5 NBA teams in order, and that's, mind you, a power ranking. In order, it's the Cavaliers, the Lakers, the Thunder, the Celtics, and then the Nuggets. Gentlemen, prove me wrong.
You know, Thomas, I always used to think that maybe you were dropped on the head as a child, but now I'm really certain. Because, oh my goodness, did Jack Callahan make this for you? This is ridiculous. I know the Lakers are so good. Okay, let's be real. Okay, the Knicks aren't the best team in the world.
Of course you would talk about it.
Hold on.
You've talked about Maryland and the Knicks. Your point, disproven.
Wait till I bring up the Jets. But all I was going to say is the Knicks barely lost to the Lakers in overtime yesterday because Jalen Brunson sprained his ankle
Hang on.
in overtime.
Boy, do I have a Knicks stat for you. The
Oh, here
Knicks
we go.
are 0-7 against the Celtics, the Cavaliers, the Thunder, and they just lost to the Lakers. How are they a top 5 team when you can't beat the top teams in the league?
They're
just all I
8-6
gotta
in their last 14. Losses to the Warriors, 2 times to the Lakers,
All I gotta
2
say.
times to the Celtics,
All I
and
gotta
once to the
say.
Cavs.
Can we stop beating me up while I'm down?
They've lost to these 3 of these teams 5 times since the start of February.
Okay. All I'm going to say is
what are you going to say?
My main point was
What are you gonna say?
the Lakers don't deserve to be number 2. And
So
that's
why'd you bring up the Knicks then?
Because my point is, if you're going to shit on the Knicks, which I could foresee coming, because it's the easy thing to do, it's the low-hanging fruit. They can barely beat the Knicks, and they're number 2.
No, the Lakers have won 8 straight. They're
great.
13-2 since the start of
Oh,
February.
great.
LeBron has averaged 29.4 points per game across his last 8 games.
He's been incredible.
That's great. I don't care because the Thunder are the best team in the NBA by far.
No, I don't know.
But the Cavs have the best record in the NBA.
Oh, that's great.
Winners of
I'm
12
with you.
straight, 16-1 in their last 17.
As we say yourself, the Knicks are so bad that they're the number 3 seed in the East. The West is 100% more stacked this year, and the Thunder are 2 games behind the Cavs? The Thunder are about to set the all-time NBA record for point differential in a season. The other 20 teams on that list, NBA history, 19 of them have gone on to win the NBA championship. The Thunder are generationally good this year. Shea's going to win MVP. Aaron Wiggins, I wonder where he went to school. Take a guess. Maryland.
Oh, no.
Chet Holmgren's back in action. Isaiah Hartenstein, former Knick. Wow, they're doing so good.
So,
you have
okay.
Alex Caruso. I'm not even done yet.
Hey,
Yeah, but
Jason Wallace.
Stefano, if you keep bringing up Maryland and Knicks, you keep just losing credibility. Let me talk about my favorite teams and favorite teams. But the difference between the Cavs, you want to talk about point differential across their last 12 games, again, a 12-game winning streak, they've won by 15.92 points per game.
And adding on to your point, they have averaged 125 points per 100 possessions during the streak. They have 7 guys averaging over 10 points a game, 9 averaging over 8. They are so well-rounded on offense, and they have those 2 big men starting in the paint, and Mobley and Jarrett Allen. I agree with you, Thomas. I do think it's the best team in the NBA. I'd put the Thunder too, though.
Can I just ask one question? What happened the last 2 years the Cavs made the playoffs?
What happened to the Thunder?
Yeah,
what happened to the Thunder last year?
They didn't do
They actually
anything
won
either.
a series.
Okay.
Also,
Didn't the Cavs go to 7 games with the Magic?
yeah, and they won a series. You just said, the Thunder won a series.
Yeah, that was
Same
their
with
first
the Cavs.
The Cavs. Okay, and then they lost in the previous year in 6 games to who was it? The Knicks.
Stop talking
No,
about
and
the
I will
Knicks.
continue to. All I'm saying is the Cavs are going to do great in the regular season. They're so great. Oh my God! And then they're going
What's
to
the difference
blow
with
it
the
in
Thunder?
The Thunder
the Cavs
have
more
taken a
playoff
generational
experience.
step up from last season to this season.
Did that happen in the playoffs? No, we're talking about regular season. You were talking about the Cavs being a really good regular season team, but you're also talking about the Thunder. You're being hypocritical right now. The Cavs have more playoff experience than the Thunder do. The Cavs made the playoffs the last 2 years. Thunder only made it last year.
Okay.
And sure, Shea. I will admit, Shea averaged over 30
Shea
points
is the best
in the
player
playoffs
on
last
both
year.
teams.
He's
He's
not
one
deserving
player.
of MVP this year.
He's
though. I
one
gotta say
player.
that.
I do think the Cavs can go further. They
do.
They have Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley. They have Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell. I feel like that is a much better team
don't
than the
forget
Thunder will be.
DeAndre
in the
Hunter.
playoffs. Yeah,
He's been great.
You can't forget about DeAndre Hunter, famous Atlanta
yeah.
Hawk. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll talk about my favorite team now, too, if you want to keep bringing up the Knicks.
Hey, this 2-man you guys are running on me
Well,
is
hang on.
insane
I think we should
right
talk about
now.
my favorite team in the Lakers and how they beat the Knicks last night in overtime. I mean,
Yeah,
the Knicks are screwed without Jalen Brunson. LeBron and Luka showed up. They both dropped 30. And Jackson Hayes has been the best defensive center in the league since the trade happened.
Okay, first of all, incorrect statement. Jackson Hayes sucks. He fouled out yesterday and has not been.
He fouled
won the
out.
game.
Who cares? The Lakers won.
Jackson Hayes is so bad, they had LeBron James guarding Cat instead of Jackson Hayes.
And what happened? Cat didn't score a single point
Exactly,
in the fourth quarter in
because-
overtime. He
Yeah,
didn't score. He
Jackson
didn't
Hayes is not a
score.
good defender. Is
All
my
right,
point.
well, we have to.
Oh,
wrap-
we ran out of time. Oh, what up? How fortunate for you both.
No,
right as I'm
because
about to
you were-
get to all my other points.
Because
No,
it,
go
was,
ahead,
it was
Thomas.
super embarrassing at how bad you were losing. But let's take a look at my top 5 again, because this is really the true top 5
How disgusting.
in the NBA. So it's the Cavs at number 1. Again, 12-game winning streak, really important. The Lakers, they have Luka Doncic, and they've really proven to me that Jackson Hayes doesn't need to be an elite big for the Lakers to be able to win a championship. Thunder, it's the playoff experience for me. Celtics, super hard to repeat as champions, but that's why they're at the number 4 spot. And the Nuggets, same record as the Knicks, but hey, they have Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. But again, let's talk about our special segment that we have coming up. USC is currently playing Indiana, so let's take a look at the bracket once more before we take a look at that game. Again, the Hoosiers are currently sitting at the number 9 seed. If USC holds on to this one, the Trojans will face off against either Michigan or Maryland, one of the teams Stefano Fender was talking about a little bit earlier. Of course, he is a big Maryland fan. But it's time to do something we have never done before on the water cooler, at least as long as I've been a part of the show. We're going to watch the USC women's basketball game live. It is in commercial right now in a timeout. We're going to throw it on the monitor as I'm joined here by Stefano Fenderich, Dylan Luden, and MJ Newsom on the couch. Pretty exciting thing we're doing right now. Again, it is in commercial, unfortunately. But 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. USC has a 5-point lead, 71-66. What have your guys' thoughts been about this game? It was really tight in the third quarter, but USC trying to separate themselves a little bit.
You know, I do like Maryland's strategy. They've been able to double team Juju on some possessions, and they did force a turnover off of one, and then she eventually blocked it still because she's, just that good. But I don't know, we were talking about this earlier, I don't know why teams don't try to double team her more if they're able to put pressure on her and limit her passing. I honestly don't understand it. UCLA should have at least tried that out when they were down last time around, and I don't get it. But Indiana were trying it, and it's a pretty close game, and you can see why.
Yeah, and I think while you guys were having an incredibly passionate segment, that was awesome, by the way. I love that. And we're able to check the score, check the box score, and it's been the Kiki and Juju show, which obviously that's how it's been most of the year. but you would like to see a little more production. When I saw it last, I think Juju had 27, Kiki with 20. So that's 47 of your 69 points, I think. So would like to see a little more bench production. Maybe that's one of the reasons why USC is struggling with it.
Well, don't you want to fall back on your best players? I mean, especially with a what I'll say a 13-point win, did you really need your bench players to produce all that much for USC because of that 13-point win? I mean, especially their reserves were in the game for much of the final 2 minutes of that one against UCLA at Pauley Pavilion. I don't know if it was really the reserves that did it for USC. I really think it was the star players, and then they could put the reserves in to get some big minutes in a big 13-point win for the Trojans.
Yeah, I think it depends, but obviously I think the main story today is it's definitely shown its hurt without Rhea Marshall. I mean, she's been a huge presence. Hopefully the illness is nothing serious. She can come back next game if USC can win. But I mean, also, let's just say, what a great game we've chosen to do. 5-point game, 4 minutes to go in the Big Ten tournament. Indiana putting on a show for us.
Yeah, let's take a look as they're back from commercial break. USC currently at 26-2, 17-1 in the Big Ten. Again, the lone loss coming to Iowa. 10-2 with quad 1 wins, 4-0 in quad 2. So the only 2 losses that the Trojans have are quad 1 as we take a look at Lindsey Gottlieb and Juju Watkins, really the workhorses for USC. And we're getting started. Talia von Oelhoffen with the ball. Just under 4.5 minutes left to go. So we get to have some live reactions to this one.
And let me tell you the key. Whenever Lindsey Gottlieb puts her hair in a ponytail, it's over for the other team. That's when she locks in. And I mean, look. Oh, wow.
Well, yeah, going back, I mean, look, they crashed Juju, and they at least put double teamed her a little bit when she got inside near the free throw line. I mean, it wasn't at the top, but they were still able to get multiple players down there. And look, they forced another turnover. I don't know. I don't understand why teams don't do that more.
Well, I mean, it's one of 2 strategies. Either you double team Juju and force the ball into other people's hands as the shot clock winding down. USC playing great team defense.
Too many passes.
But a foul
Failed out
call.
with a foul with 1 second.
See, but I don't know. If I was a coach and I was playing USC, I would at least try to double team Juju and see how that goes.
But
no one's done it. I honestly would love to see how it would go.
They have Kiki Iriefin. They have a bunch of other scoring options that if you take the ball out of Juju's hands, and the thing is, you can double team her, and she's still going to score as there's another commercial break. They really don't want to see us win here on the water cooler.
They really want us to get us hungry, honestly.
I think this is a third Baconator ad we've seen. But I don't know if that's the best strategy, and it really depends on who your best players are. If you trust your bigs to be able to guard Kiki Iriefin and Rhea Marshall down low, sure, double team Juju. Get the ball out of the guard's hands, get it into the forward's hands, or alternative guards. But I don't know. The strategy hasn't necessarily worked every time.
That's why I don't get why UCLA didn't do that, because obviously they have Lauren Betts down low and she's phenomenal on defense, and they have no guards that could stop Juju Watkins one-on-one. They've tried multiple guards and they weren't able to do it. So that's why I didn't understand why close it. At least try it.
Yeah, I think this is a game where you could experiment with that for Indiana. With Rhea Marshall not being down there, you only need to have one big post presence against Kiki Iriefin. And if you're able to double team Juju and you can lock down Kiki, where's the production going to come from? And I'm not saying that there's not going to be any production, but I don't really know if USC has another true blue playmaker to go out there and make plays like Watkins can do. So if she's out of the equation, the offense might get a little stagnant.
I mean, make anyone else beat you. That's got to be how you play against Juju. Take her out of the game, and it's make the Kennedy Smith have to step up, make Avery Howell have to step up. And I mean, even when you do that, though, Indiana is still losing by 5, and it doesn't even matter.
The Trojans and the Hoosiers play at Assembly Hall at Indiana. USC, it wasn't a dominant win for them.
It was a 7-point win.
It was a 7-point win, and we're in Indianapolis, like less than 60 miles away from Bloomington. We'll have to take a look at the screen again, but I'm sure there are a bunch of Hoosier fans in the crowd there.
That's one tough thing, too, about the Big Ten for USC is the distance. I mean, you got to go all the way to Indianapolis, and it's tough for your fans to get there. That's, like you mentioned, Thomas, the big advantage for Indiana, having that 60-mile radius from Bloomington to Indianapolis. That's important, and obviously it probably feels like a home game for Indiana.
Speaking about your point, I'm going to agree with the least fun coach I think I've ever seen in my life, Mick Cronin, about the traveling thing, all these teams coming from, this snowy area where nothing goes on in life besides college, and then they come out to LA, sun shines and rainbows all the time, and it's 80-degree, 70-degree weather. So.
Well, let's look at that foul trouble right now. Iriafen with 4, a bunch of other players with 3 fouls. I think that's been a problem for USC. We talked about it against UCLA, bunch of foul issues for the Trojans, and now a bunch of their players are in foul trouble now. It is a 5-point lead right now for USC, but you'd really hope that the Trojans were fouling less, especially Indiana, 18 for 19 from the free throw line. They're capitalizing on the mistakes that USC is making.
I know USC is a very aggressive team. They lead the nation in blocks with over 7 a game, and that goes to it. We saw Juju very beginning of this segment foul from behind when she was going for a block. So that's part of the reason why USC can end up in some foul trouble is the aggressiveness, which you like, but it sometimes got to tame it down a little bit.
And to MJ's point, Gottlieb, her patented full court press, usually with Malia Samuels or Kaylee Heckle pressing the whole time. I wouldn't be surprised if they employ that the rest of the game here. I know they're in foul trouble, but it's getting a little too close for comfort. So I wouldn't be surprised if Gottlieb switches it up on the defensive end like that.
Well, the Hoosiers have an opportunity to make this a 3-point game, a 1-possession game, if they make the second free throw here. Again, 3.5 minutes left. It's a winnable game for either team. Obviously, the Trojans are in the lead.
It's getting close.
It's getting close. It's pretty exciting that we're able to do this, even with all the timeouts that we are experiencing.
Yeah.
So now they're almost they're collapsing
Talia.
on. Oh, wow, that's a good shot.
She's hit a couple big threes today. I think she's really started to find her shot the last few games, and I keep going back to it, but that's important. When late in the season, when it comes tournament time, you got to be playing your best ball at the right time, and right now Von Oelhoffen is starting to find her stroke a little bit.
No, 100%. And, people give her a lot of flack, but, let's be honest. There's just not that many shots to go around on this USC offense between Kiki and Juju.
Well, that was a good hustle play, but it looks like USC will get possession back. So 6-point game, less than 3 minutes to go. So we'll take another look.
Yeah, that's USC ball.
Well, especially, she taps it, looks like it hit that back line. So Talia up at top. Let's see if she takes another 3 here.
Oh, they're running a little play here.
Check.
So
Juju.
Oh, all
So
right. Well,
Dylan, they weren't even double teaming Juju there. They had the defender on Talia sag off to try to get to Juju. Now up to 30 points
She's just
for
too
Juju
good,
Watkins.
man.
Yep, that's game. That's it. I'm calling it right now. There's no way.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, we're done. USC can close this one out. Take all the time you need.
Wow.
That's a foul right there, but it's a 9-point game for USC, and we are going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we will continue to update you on the USC women's basketball game and talk about NFL quarterbacks at the Combine. All that and more when we come back.
Welcome back to the water cooler. MJ Newsome alongside Hayes Flanagan. And if you guys were with us last semester, Hayes and I broke down the college football playoff, and hey, it may be March, but guess what? We're still going to talk some football. Let's talk with some quarterbacks at the Combine, overrated, underrated, and properly rated. And let's start with a man who led the Buckeyes to a national championship in Will Howard. Great season, surrounded by a great offense, great weapons, Chip Kelly. Combine performance not too great, though.
And yes, he may have had a great season and led the Buckeyes to a national championship, but let's take a moment to look at him. He is very slow in the pocket. He had so many. This game was his worst game of the season. Throws a brutal interception, 10-10 right here. He had the best offensive weapons in college football around him with the best wide receiver, Jeremiah Smith, and Quinshon Judkins at running back, and he wasn't the star of that team. It shows, and this game especially so slow, sacked time after time after time. I just don't see his game converting well to the NFL.
Definitely got some work to do. If Jeremiah Smith was in the draft, I think he's going 1 overall. You talk about the speed. This guy, Brady Cook from Missouri, he's quick. He led the NFL Combine in quarterbacks at every single drill. Shuttle run, 40-yard dash, you name it. He's shifty, and he had some playmakers at Missouri, but no one crazy outside of Luther Burden. He made Missouri really kind of go to the next level, him and Eli Drinkwitz. I think Brady Cook's a very underrated player in this draft. He has good pocket presence, got some good zip on the football. I think he's got a really good chance to be a good quarterback at the next level. Put him in a good system. We'll see what happens.
Especially when we're talking about quarterbacks. This isn't the strongest quarterback draft class.
No.
So you could get someone who's going to be a great backup, which is what we're looking at right here. Quinn Ewers is my underrated player. I think, he is injury prone. Yes, people do have questions about his release and how fast and how well he sees the ball. But he was on this Texas team and took them very far. I mean, you can't deny that Ewers has talent and can find a receiver well, as you saw. In that ASU game, he closed it out. You can't say the same for that Ohio State game, but you saw a clutch gene within him right here. Look, he's not that fast. And he found that pocket and he ran and he scored. So, I mean, that's one player I think is underrated. Do I think he's going to be a star in the NFL? No, but I think he'd be a good pickup.
He's got some work to do. He's not very fast, but guess what? He played in a torn oblique past the Michigan game. That was week 2. Quinn Ewers also single-handedly brought Texas back. Hook'em. I hope Quinn Ewers is a great quarterback. You mentioned not the best quarterback class. We'll see what happens. That's all for football here in March. Thomas, back to you.
Thanks, MJ and Hayes. We are going to stick with a different type of football for our great debate. Let's get into it. So Lionel Messi, obviously now in the MLS for Inter Miami, but he was not traveling to Houston for the Miami game against the Dynamo, and because of that, Houston offered complimentary tickets to every fan who wanted to go to that game just to see Messi. So now I'm joined at the desk by Kyle Frankel and Jack Hallinan. So kind of a class act move from the Houston Dynamo. Messi not playing in that game, so they gave everyone tickets to a future Dynamo game just because Messi wasn't playing. So let's talk about it. Do we think Messi is actually adding long-term value to the league?
Look, it was a coup for Messi to come to MLS. Look, there's no world in which this is not good for the league overall. But I think this incident was absolutely embarrassing, not just for the Dynamo, but for the league as a whole, and shows that they need to make some bigger changes in order to convert people to become long-term, dedicated fans to MLS. For reasons that we can get into here, but first I want to hear noted soccer watcher Kyle Frankel's take on this.
I'm a big footy guy. I agree with the first thing you said. Class act move, also kind of a loser move by the Houston Dynamo. Big loser energy there.
Wait, why?
Well, I think it's because they're admitting that the people who were buying tickets to their game are not Dynamo fans.
You're like, our fans didn't care about watching our team.
Well, yeah, because that's the case.
Yeah, I know, but you don't want to say that.
But like everyone knows it.
It's loser energy.
I respect it personally because, like, yeah, Messi's the best player in the world. No matter how good he is now, he was at one point the best player in the world, and people want to see him play. It's no secret that people are going to Inter Miami road games, Inter Miami home games to see Lionel Messi.
No, it's no secret, but that doesn't speak to just the growth of the league as a whole. I think it's great for the league. I think Messi being here is great for the league, and MLS definitely has to make some changes. But the increase in interest in soccer in the U.S. overall, I think is good for the sport and good for the league in the long term. Just having more kids interested, more kids playing, more growth in the game. And even in the games he's not playing, even if you excluded Messi's road matches in his first full season, the average attendance numbers would still be an all-time best in MLS history. So it's not just that people are going to see Messi, it's that Messi's coming, people are getting interested in soccer, and then they're going, oh, I kind of like footy. Maybe I'll go catch another game.
Well, the fact that Lionel Messi's now playing in the MLS is going to inspire other European players maybe past their prime a little bit to come and play in the MLS. So I think it's long-term value in that sense where Lionel Messi plays. He's going to inspire better players to come play in the MLS. Maybe even get some younger stars in their prime coming over to the new league.
I think that's where it's really going to prove hit or miss because we've had plenty of great players from Europe come to MLS for a couple years before they retired. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Andrea Pirlo. All these guys played for MLS teams, but when they were no longer that exciting to watch, Zlatan aside, he was pretty awesome for the Galaxy. Where MLS needs to make changes is now that they've raised their profile with Messi, they need to let teams do whatever they want salary cap and transfer fee wise in order to convince people who are not just 32 and up, but in that prime window of 25 to 30 to maybe consider coming to America as opposed to taking a big check from Saudi Arabia or wherever else.
I mean, would these teams be able to do that? Do they have that money base to be able to buy these players in their prime?
Miami
MLS
does.
owners, Miami does, Atlanta does. I think one of the two New York teams could do it. Both the LA teams have great models and great fan bases. I think teams are willing to spend, but they're not allowed to by MLS, and that needs to change. Additionally, I think the Apple TV contract, 10-year media rights deal for $2 billion. MLS leaped at that because as the kind of newest of the American major leagues, they wanted the stability, right? But people forget that to watch MLS games now, you have to pay $80, even if you already subscribe to Apple TV Plus, just to watch Apple TV games.
Yeah.
So you're getting
Worst TV deal.
it's terrible because you're getting a tiny segment of people who are really dedicated MLS fans, and otherwise it's paywalled to people who are just general interest. Maybe they want to watch MLS once every month, and you're not able to capture that kind of casual fan base. And when you have Messi, you want more access. You want to bring more eyeballs to the league.
Yeah, well, Messi has flair on the field, but he might be outmatched by this pitcher from the Colorado Rockies. Let's get into final memos for our final segment. Jeffrey Yan has a great story as a baseball player and a flair for the dramatic with his strikeout celebrations. Let's take a look at some of his stuff. And we just see him. He's electric on the field. He just looks like he's having fun out there. Again, a great story as we're taking a little bit of a look at it.
What a beast.
What a beast. I agree. That's a great dance.
Yeah, that's what I do every time I like hit a 3 or something. Just rip that out.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we could just call this segment "This Guy Rocks" because this guy rocks.
This
This guy
rocks.
does rock. Like I need him in the MLB. The Rockies suck. There's nothing going on with the Rockies. If I'm the Rockies, we just gotta get this guy on the mound opening day. Let's just get some butts in seats. Let's get some fans in the building.
Yeah.
Can you educate me? Like, would this be allowed on the Yankees?
No,
Can he only do
definitely
this-
not.
Can he only do this because he plays for the Rockies?
He could do it on some other teams, probably.
He could do it on
Yankees
29
definitely
out of 30
not.
Major League
Yeah,
Baseball
The
teams.
Yankees are too stuck up and
Well, they have
annoying.
they have the facial hair. They're allowing
They
more
lifted
facial
it.
hair. Maybe they'd
Yeah,
allow that
neatly
now
groomed.
too.
It has to be neatly groomed.
Neatly groomed.
Shortcut.
I don't know. I think it brings some flair, brings some fun, almost like Savannah Bananas-esque in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I don't want that. Yeah.
Great ankle
We don't need to do
flexibility.
that stuff. though.
Yeah, seriously, literally. I'm just worried he's going to injure himself. But that is all the time we have today for our entire cast and crew. I'm Thomas Johnson, and we will see you next time on The Water Cooler.